For the last decade in college football, we've asked ourselves, who's in the 4-team playoff? Now, we continue that question, but with a brand new 12-team playoff. Welcome into this edition of College Football Now, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. I have assembled a team, a selection committee, to put together a mock of what we believe will be the first ever 12-team playoff. Let's tell you who's on this selection committee. Myself included. I did vote on this, as well as James Yoder, the host of the Michigan Football Report here at Chat Sports. Harrison Graham, who is a bit older since this last picture was taken, and he's got a beard since then as well, the host of Four Verts. Tom Downey, who you see from time to time here in College Football Now, and one of our newest employees, Joey Peterson, who's on the ones and twos producing today's show here on College Football Now. He did put in a vote for his Vols, and I'll tell you this right now, a little spoiler alert, he will be disappointed when we get to that coming up later. Are you excited about the 12-team playoff? I am. It feels like we've come a long way. With all the changes in conference realignment and NIL, transfer portal and all that, I think the 12-team playoff's a welcome change. If you're like me and you're excited for the 12-team playoff, like the video, do your part, and we'll continue with today's show. Let's set the scene for you here of how this 12-team playoff system works. The 5 highest-ranked conference champions get automatic bids into the playoff. The 4 highest-ranked conference champions all get first-round byes. 7 at-large bids, and independents like Notre Dame, because they don't play in a conference, they would not qualify for the first-round bid. The highest they could be is a 5 seed. The first-round games will be at the home sites of the higher-ranked teams, and then the remaining playoff games will take place at bowl sites. So to give you a visual here, let's take a look at the playoff bracket of what this will look like in 2025. As you can see, the 8-9 will take on the 1, the 5-12 will take on the 4 seed, the 6-11 will take on the 3, and the 7-10 will take on the 2 in this playoff format. So, what will the schedule look like? The first round game will take place on Friday, December 20th. Then on Saturday, December 21st, there will be 3 first-round games. Then we'll follow that up with a quarterfinal, the Fiesta Bowl, on December 31st. And 3 more quarterfinals on Wednesday, January 1st with the Peach Bowl, Rose Bowl, and Sugar. And then we'll wrap things up with the semifinal on January 9th, Thursday, January 9th, that is, the Orange Bowl, followed by the Cotton Bowl, which will take place on Friday, January 10th. And then the National Championship will take place on Monday, January 20th from Atlanta. So without further ado, let's go ahead and reveal our mock selection for the college football playoff. And let's begin with the team that is the favorites in college football this year. It is none other than the Georgia Bulldogs, who take the number 1 spot in our CFB mock selection. No surprise there with what this Georgia team has done over the last few years. They're the favorites once again. We're all on the same page that they're the number 1 team heading into this year's playoff. Number 2, representing the Big Ten, is the Ohio State Buckeyes. And the committee was pretty close between Ohio State and Oregon. They will face in the regular season, could meet again in the Big Ten Championship, could meet again in the playoff. They could face potentially 3 times this year, but ultimately we'll go with Ohio State to be the 2 seed. Out of the Big 12, it is the Utah Utes, one of the newest members of the Big 12 Conference. They're the favorites to win the Big 12 this year. We have them as the 3 seed and the 4 seed. Out of the ACC is the Florida State Seminoles. Had a decent number of votes come in from Miami, but ultimately Florida State, DJU, Mike Norvell and company edged things out for that number 4 spot. Let's get to the at-large bids now. Oregon lines in at number 5 with Dylan Gabriel coming in, the former Oklahoma quarterback, under center now. Dan Lanning and company came up just short of missing the playoff last season. They're hoping for better fortunes this year. At number 6, is Texas back? Well, we have them back in the playoff for the 2nd straight year. After getting to the Sugar Bowl and winning the Big 12 last year, now they join the SEC this season. At number 7, the Ole Miss Rebels. Lane Kiffin has a very good squad, brings in the top defensive player in the portal, Walter Nolan. Jackson Dart is back. Expectations are sky high there for Ole Miss. Number 8 is where we find the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We mentioned they're not eligible for a first-round bye, but not having to play a conference championship game, Notre Dame might be in better shape of playing that early round game as opposed to playing a conference schedule and keeping their independence. At number 9, we find the Miami Hurricane. New quarterback Cam Ward comes in. That team, it feels like it's a real make-or-break year for Mario Cristobal and company. At 10, we find the Alabama Crimson Tide. Kalen DeBoer lost a lot of players in the transfer portal, but Jalen Milroe is back, and they expect to be competing for a national title once again. The final at-large berth goes to the Michigan Wolverines, the reigning national champions. Sharon Moore, their new head coach. They've lost a lot of pieces, but they expect to be right back in contention. And then the final spot for the last conference champion, which would be the 12th seed in our bracket, is Liberty out of Conference USA getting that spot there. And Jamie Chadwell, he's got a great track record, did a great job at Coastal Carolina. He's looking to keep that going at Liberty, coming off a Fiesta Bowl appearance last year. So, who just missed out? The first 4 teams outside of the playoff. Kansas State was the first team to miss. Avery Johnson, their new quarterback, they got a really good squad this year. They'll be in contention. Penn State also barely misses the college football playoff. James Franklin and company, that's a team that's expecting to compete this season. Arizona, that's a very interesting situation. Jed Fish gone. Brent Brennan, their new head coach. How will Arizona fare? And then Virginia Tech at 16 also misses out. They did have several votes from our mock committee there. So what do you guys think? How did our mock committee do with our college football playoff picks? Grade it for us. A, B, C, D, or F. Anything less than an A, you're a hater. Let us know in the comment section below. Today's show is sponsored by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you'll want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. I found this job through LinkedIn, folks, and you can find qualified candidates just like me on LinkedIn Jobs, folks. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/CFChat. That's linkedin.com/CFCHAT to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Check out LinkedIn Jobs today. All right, let's take a look at the first round matchups, how this playoff would shape out with our mock selections. We would get a rematch of last year's Fiesta Bowl of Oregon and Liberty in the first round, that game in Eugene. Speaking of rematches, we would get another rematch between Texas and Michigan, who face off early this year in Ann Arbor. This game would take place in Austin. Ole Miss and Alabama, 2 teams in the SEC, they would square off this game in Oxford. And then we would also get the Catholics and the Convicts going up head-to-head, Notre Dame and Miami, this game in South Bend. Then in the quarterfinals, Georgia, even though the Peach Bowl is in the quarterfinal rotation, they're still giving preference to traditional conference alignment with the bowl games. So Georgia would go to the Sugar Bowl, where they would await the winner of Notre Dame and Miami. Ohio State would be back in the Rose Bowl, where they would await the winner of Mississippi and Alabama. Then in the Fiesta Bowl, Utah would be there, not having to travel too far, awaiting the winner of Texas and Michigan. And then Florida State would be in the Peach Bowl, as they would take on the winner of Oregon and Liberty. Then from there, you get to the semifinals and the national championship. Here's how those matchups would potentially look like as well. In the Orange Bowl, it would be either Georgia, Notre Dame, or Miami taking on Florida State, Oregon, or Liberty in the first semifinal. Then the second semifinal, the Cotton Bowl from Arlington, would feature either Ohio State, Mississippi, or Alabama taking on either Utah, Texas, or Michigan. And then from there, we would get our final two teams in the national championship game in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where Mercedes-Benz Stadium would be hosting their second playoff game within just a matter of weeks, with the quarterfinal, Peach Bowl, and then the national championship there on January 20th. Who will win the first ever 12-team college football playoff? Who's it going to be? Get your predictions in now. Weigh in. Let us know in the comments section. Folks, if you want more college football content, this is the channel for you. The college football season officially starts this week with Week 0. We cannot wait. We're going to be all over it all season long right here on College Football Now. For news and rumors, updates, what's going on throughout the playoff, the transfer portal, NIL, recruiting, and more, it's all in one place. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/chatsportstv for the latest happenings across college football. We got you covered. Let's take a look at the betting odds of teams just to make the college football playoff this year. Not win the whole thing, but just to make the playoff. Ohio State with the best odds at -650, Georgia -600, Oregon -330, Texas at -220, Notre Dame at -170. Penn State, despite us having them outside the playoff, their odds are pretty good at -145. Ole Miss at -130, Alabama. Seems kind of odd to see them that low compared to what we talk about historically with them, +100. LSU, who we did not have in, they're at +125. Michigan at +160. Others include Florida State at +160, Missouri at +180, who we had not making the playoff. Utah, some incredible value there for the Utes at +190. Tennessee at +195, Clemson at +200, Miami at +210, a sucker bet on Texas A&M there at +240, K-State at +280, Boise State at +400, and Liberty at +440. So the path to get to the playoff, it's not going to be easy. Here's a couple games to watch for in the 2024 season. They include Ohio State and Oregon. I believe that's the game of the year in college football. That will take place in Eugene on October 12th. Then you have Georgia and Texas squaring off the week following. That game in Austin, as Texas will face Oklahoma the week prior, so a tough two-week stretch there for the Longhorns. You got to talk about Michigan and Ohio State, obviously. That game taking place Thanksgiving weekend this year in Columbus on November 30th. Georgia and Alabama, this game will take place in prime time this year at the end of September on September 28th in Tuscaloosa. Georgia also facing Ole Miss on the road. That game will take place on November 9th. And then some other games to watch. Oregon travels to the Big House to take on Michigan. Yes, they get Michigan and Ohio State on their schedule for their first year in the Big Ten this year. Ole Miss will square off at LSU on October 12th. Got to talk about what I think is the best rivalry in college football, the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma and Texas. We have the Sooners missing the playoffs, but all eyes are going to be on them, what Brent Venables can do in his third year, their first year in the SEC. That game will take place on October 12th, the best day of the regular season this year. Clemson and Florida State could determine who's going to be in the driver's seat in the ACC. That game will take place in Tallahassee on October 5th. And then the best non-conference matchup of the year, Texas and Michigan in the Big House. That game will take place on September 7th. What college football game are you most looking forward to this season? You heard my answer. I said, for me, it is that Ohio State-Oregon game there on October 12th. What is the game you're most looking forward to? Weigh in the comments section. Let us know what game comes to mind. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of College Football Now. Like the video. I'm excited for the 12-team playoff. I know you are too, folks. More seats at the table, more chances for teams to get involved, potentially walk away with this national title. We'll be here to cover it all for you here on College Football Now by Chat Sports. Like the video. I'm Tyler Jones. We'll see you next time.